Have you heard about Ukraine DAO?
They used the power of the internet to raise $7 million
Yeah.
in just 5 days to support their fight for freedom.
Wow.
That's the potential of Impact DAOs, and we're diving deep into how they work,
Yeah.
their impact, and how you can even get involved.
Ukraine DAO is a powerful example
Of how quickly these decentralized organizations can mobilize resources for a cause.
And it highlights the increasing interest in using blockchain for social good.
It's amazing, right? So for those who are new to this,
Let's break it down. What exactly is an Impact DAO?
imagine a digital native nonprofit
Okay.
powered by blockchain technology.
That's an Impact DAO in a nutshell.
They aim to tackle real-world problems,
With a focus on transparency.
community-driven decision-making, and global collaboration.
Okay, let's unpack those terms a bit. We keep hearing about blockchain.
What does it mean in this context?
And why is it so important for Impact DAOs?
Think of blockchain as a digital ledger.
That records every transaction in a secure and transparent way.
This means anyone can trace where funds are going
I see.
and how they're being used.
For Impact DAOs, this level of transparency builds trust
Right.
and ensures accountability, which has been a challenge for traditional nonprofit models.
So it's like having a public record of every action the organization takes,
Yeah,
which is a huge plus for building trust with donors and supporters.
exactly.
This transparency is also coupled with the decentralized nature of DAOs.
Instead of a traditional hierarchical structure, Impact DAOs distribute power among their members,
Right.
often through tokens that represent voting rights,
So it's a more democratic approach.
where the community has a say in the direction of the organization,
That's a stark contrast to traditional charities or NGOs.
where decisions are often made behind closed doors.
Absolutely.
This shift in power dynamics is a major draw for many people interested in Impact DAOs.
It aligns with the values of Web3,
Yeah.
a more open, transparent, and participatory internet.
And speaking of Web3,
This beginner's course, we're diving into highlights that Impact DAOs are popping up in a wide range of sectors.
it's not just about charitable giving anymore.
Absolutely. We're seeing Impact DAOs tackle everything from climate change
Wow.
and scientific research to financial inclusion and social justice.
It's a testament to the diverse applications of this technology for social good.
For example, there's Climate DAO.
Using blockchain to fight climate change through carbon offsetting initiatives.
Right.
And then there's Vita DAO, which is revolutionizing scientific research.
By funding projects through a decentralized community of researchers and enthusiasts.
It's fascinating to see how these organizations are pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
What's even more fascinating is that we're still in the early stages.
Imagine the potential as more people become aware of this model
Yeah.
and the tools for participation become more user-friendly.
It's an incredibly exciting space to watch.
It really is. And speaking of getting involved,
This course isn't just theory.
it actually provides a roadmap for building your own Impact DAO.
It sounds daunting, but they break it down into manageable steps
What's the first step anyone should consider?
if they're inspired to create an Impact DAO.
It starts with finding your tribe.
Connecting with individuals who are passionate about the same cause,
Online communities
especially on platforms like Twitter.
have become hubs for these initial connections.
It's so inspiring to see passionate people coming together around a shared mission.
It reminds me of that scene in every superhero movie where they assemble the team.
Right.
But once you've found your tribe, where do you go from there?
Defining your why seems like a crucial step.
You're absolutely right.
Clearly defining your mission and values is paramount.
Right.
It's about answering the question, what impact do you want to make in the world?
And just as importantly, how will your DAO operate in a way that embodies those values?
So it's not just about what you're trying to achieve, but also how you go about achieving it.
Right.
The course uses Whole Foods as a cautionary tale.
Of what can happen when a company loses sight of its values.
What's the takeaway there for aspiring Impact DAO creators?
The Whole Foods example reminds us that staying true to your core principles is essential.
Especially in the ever-evolving world of Web3,
Right.
where it's easy to get caught up in hype cycles.
Impact DAOs that prioritize their values are more likely to make authentic and lasting change.
Authenticity is so key, especially in a space where trust is paramount.
But let's get practical.
Once you've found your tribe and defined your mission,
How do you equip them to actually get things done?
this course emphasizes the importance of choosing the right tools.
It's all about finding the right balance between functionality and accessibility.
Discord and Telegram are popular choices for communication and collaboration,
Uh-huh.
acting as virtual headquarters.
And for task management?
Platforms like Dwork and Wonderverse,
Right.
which are designed for distributed teams.
Can be game changers.
It's like having a digital toolkit specifically designed for making a difference.
But what about keeping people motivated?
It's one thing to gather a group of volunteers.
It's another to sustain their enthusiasm and commitment over the long haul.
You've hit on a critical aspect of building and sustaining any community,
Yeah.
the power of incentives.
While intrinsic motivation is essential, Impact DAOs are finding creative ways.
To recognize and reward contributions using Web3 tools.
Okay, tell me more about these innovative approaches.
How are they using Web3 tech to acknowledge and appreciate their contributors?
One method is through soul-bound tokens,
Think of them as digital badges of honor.
recorded on the blockchain, that recognize contributions.
These tokens can't be traded or sold.
They hold value purely as a symbol of appreciation and commitment to the DAO's mission.
I love that. It's like a virtual pat on the back.
Acknowledging the hard work and dedication of community members.
It's a powerful way to foster a sense of belonging and shared purpose.
Exactly.
And it taps into the human desire for recognition and appreciation,
Another approach is through bounties,
which are essentially payments made in cryptocurrency.
for completing specific tasks or contributing particular skills,
So it's like a decentralized task marketplace
where people can contribute their skills.
and be rewarded for their efforts. That's incredibly efficient.
But what about decision-making?
Traditional organizations have clear hierarchies.
But how do you navigate that in a decentralized structure like a DAO?
It's a question a lot of people have.
And this course offers a nuanced perspective on how Impact DAOs approach decision-making.
It emphasizes that not every decision requires a vote.
Really?
So it's not about constantly voting on every little thing.
I imagine that could get pretty chaotic and time-consuming.
Exactly.
That's the alternative.
The course suggests reserving voting for major strategic decisions,
Okay.
like changes to the DAO's mission.
Allocating significant funds or onboarding new projects.
This strategic approach helps maintain agility while ensuring alignment on key issues.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right.
So when a major decision does require a vote,
What tools do Impact DAOs use? They can't exactly pass around a ballot box in the digital world.
that's where blockchain technology really shines,
There are platforms like Snapshot
which is becoming increasingly popular.
that are specifically designed for decentralized voting
It leverages what's known as off-chain voting.
to make the process more efficient.
Off-chain voting sounds intriguing. What's that all about?
Is it like a secret off-the-record vote?
Not quite a secret vote.
But it does offer some practical advantages.
Essentially, off-chain voting allows DAOs to record and tally votes without incurring the usual transaction fees
Known as gas fees.
associated with interacting directly with the blockchain every time someone casts a vote.
Ah, that makes sense. It's a way to keep things running smoothly and cost-effectively.
Especially when you have a large and active community participating in the decision-making process,
We've covered a lot of ground here.
from finding your tribe to navigating decentralized decision-making.
But let's talk about the fuel that powers these Impact DAOs funding.
How do they raise the resources they need to make a difference?
It's a question at the heart of any impactful organization.
And what's fascinating about Impact DAOs is that they're pioneering new and innovative approaches to fundraising.
Leveraging the power of Web3 and their communities.
So we're talking about funding models that are as innovative as their missions.
They are indeed.
Tell me more.
What are some of the ways Impact DAOs are changing the game when it comes to fundraising?
One avenue is crowdfunding platforms like Gitcoin, which you mentioned earlier.
Right.
They've become popular for Impact DAOs because they tap into a global network of donors.
Who are specifically interested in supporting projects using Web3 for social good.
Right, Gitcoin. They're known for this thing called quadratic funding.
Which always sounded a bit like a mathematical puzzle to me.
Yeah,
Can you demystify it a bit?
I can try. It's actually a very elegant system.
That prioritizes projects with broad-based support.
Even if the individual donations are relatively small.
Essentially, the platform matches donations based on the number of contributors, not just the total amount raised.
So it's a way to level the playing field and give smaller grassroots projects a fighting chance.
I like it. Are there other platforms out there that are popular with Impact DAOs?
Absolutely.
Giveth is another platform that has gain traction,
They take a more curated approach.
often featuring projects that have undergone a due diligence process
I see.
to assess their legitimacy and potential impact,
So it's like a stamp of approval for potential donors.
giving them an extra layer of confidence.
Right.
And what about support within the Web3 community itself?
Are there examples of DAOs funding other DAOs?
You're thinking along the right lines.
Yeah. There's a growing trend of DAOs supporting each other,
The course mentions DAOs like Cult DAO and Metacartel.
which have allocated funds to support projects aligned with their values.
It's a powerful example of the collaborative spirit that defines this space,
It speaks to the idea that we're stronger together.
even, or maybe especially in the decentralized world.
Right.
But what about more traditional funding sources?
Are Web3 foundations playing a role in supporting Impact DAOs?
Definitely.
Foundations like the Near Foundation, the Filecoin Foundation.
And the CeeLo Foundation,
Yeah.
all mentioned in the course, are increasingly recognizing the potential of Impact DAOs.
They're awarding grants to projects that align with their missions of building a more equitable and decentralized future,
It's like a new wave of philanthropy.
embracing the power of Web3 to drive positive change.
But I also imagine it's very competitive to secure funding from these foundations,
It can be.
which is why having a strong mission,
A clear plan for impact and a passionate community is so crucial.
but beyond crowdfunding
DAO to DAO support.
and grants, Impact DAOs are exploring some truly innovative funding mechanisms.
The course highlights two concepts in particular that are worth understanding: retroactive public goods funding and impact certificates.
Okay, those both sound intriguing and a little complex.
Let's start with retroactive public goods funding.
What's that all about?
It's a really fascinating concept that flips the traditional funding model on its head.
Okay.
Instead of receiving funding up front,
Projects would receive funding retroactively based on the impact they have already demonstrated.
so it's like proving your model works before receiving large sums of money.
That's an interesting approach.
It seems like it would require robust ways to measure and verify impact.
Exactly. That's one of the key challenges that proponents of this model are working to address,
And it's not without its critics.
who argue that it could disadvantage smaller, emerging projects that may not have the resources to demonstrate impact at scale right away.
I see. So it's still an evolving concept with its own set of complexities.
What about impact certificates?
How do they fit into this new landscape of funding?
Impact certificates are essentially digital credentials that verify the positive social or environmental impact of a project or organization.
Think of them as a way to track, measure, and showcase real-world outcomes using blockchain technology.
So it's a way to bring transparency and accountability to the world of impact,
Yeah,
which can be notoriously difficult to quantify.
that's really interesting. Are there any platforms or protocols leading the charge on this?
There are.
The course mentions HyperCerts as a leading protocol in this space.
It aims to create a standardized framework for issuing and verifying impact certificates.
Making it easier for donors and supporters to assess the impact of the projects they support.
That's incredible. It sounds like the world of Impact DAOs is not only creating new models for social good,
But also for measuring and proving that good.
right?
Is there anything else you think is important to highlight about funding in the Impact DAO space?
One thing that's important to remember is that funding is only one piece of the puzzle.
Many Impact DAOs rely heavily on the contributions of volunteers who are passionate about the mission.
And eager to contribute their skills and time.
This blend of passion and purpose, combined with innovative funding models, creates a powerful force for change.
That's a really important reminder.
It's not just about the money, it's about the people who are driven to make a difference.
And speaking of people, this course emphasizes that Impact DAOs aren't just quietly working in the background.
They understand the importance of building in public and telling their story.
What's the thinking behind that?
Transparency is at the heart of the Impact DAO movement.
And building in public is a way to live those values.
It's about sharing your journey, the highs, the lows, the lessons learned,
Right.
and the impact achieved openly and authentically.
This transparency builds trust with supporters and inspires others to join the movement,
So it's about bringing people along for the ride
showing them the inner workings of the DAO.
and demonstrating the impact of their support.
Exactly.
And it's not just about showcasing successes.
It's also about being open and honest about challenges, setbacks, and even failures.
Right.
This vulnerability makes the DAO more relatable and humanizes the organization in the eyes of the community.
That's so refreshing.
I think a lot of organizations, both traditional and in the Web3 space, could learn from that approach.
It fosters trust and understanding.
I agree.
And this transparency extends to how Impact DAOs communicate their story.
They're using compelling narratives, powerful visuals, and social media to engage a wider audience.
It's about meeting people where they are and using the tools of the digital age to share stories that resonate and inspire.
The course uses Uniswap and their captivating animation as an example of storytelling done right.
What's so effective about their approach?
Uniswap's animation wasn't just about explaining a complex technology.
It was about painting a picture of a more open, accessible, and equitable financial future.
It was simple, engaging, and it captured people's imaginations.
It shows the power of a good story to cut through the noise and make people care.
And in a world that's often overwhelmed with information, that's a powerful tool to have.
As we wrap up our deep dive into Impact DAOs, is there one key takeaway you hope listeners will carry with them?
The Impact DAO space is still young, but it's brimming with potential.
It's a space where technology, innovation, and a deep desire to make a difference converge.
Whether you're an entrepreneur, a technologist, a community organizer, or simply someone who wants to contribute to a better world,
There's a place for you in this movement.
I completely agree. It's a powerful reminder that we can all be part of building a more equitable, just, and sustainable future.
So there you have it, your crash course on Impact DAOs.
Hopefully you've gained some valuable insights from this deep dive, and we've sparked your curiosity to learn more about the power of Web3 for social good.
Well said.
It's been a pleasure diving deep with you today.
Likewise, thanks for joining us.